Does mindfulness improve attention regulation in college students? College is a time of change. There are many different factors that could affect a student's academic success. For example, it could be their first time away from home. They're going to a place where they might not know anyone, and the academic standard could be much higher than they're used to. Because of this, there are growing concerns for the students and academic well-being and their stress management. This study was conducted to discover the possible effect of mindfulness-based intervention, or MBIs, on attention regulation with the goal of hopefully helping with some of these concerns. For the purposes of this study, MBIs include stress reduction, breathing regulation, and body scans. A little bit of background before we get into the study. Some previous research that has been done is MBIs were found to positively affect physical and mental well-being as well as cognition. Additionally, attention regulation strategies have been connected to benefiting self-regulation. There's also been studies that have explored the relationship between mindfulness and attention control. While there's been some research of this connection in the university setting, some of their answers have been inconclusive and inconsistent. The knowledge gap, or where this study fits into this previous research, is that there hasn't been a lot of research on the specific effects on university students. Also, in this study, they specify yoga as a type of MBI, and that as specific mindfulness activity has not been researched. And lastly, homework and outside of the classroom mindfulness hasn't been researched in addition to researching mindfulness and attention control. This is the hypothesis for this study. Cognitive performance in college students will be improved by attention regulation that is brought about by mindfulness training. Mindfulness training that includes yoga will be more beneficial than training without, and the more time spent and the better the techniques of mindfulness training outside of the classroom or homework, the better the attention regulation and cognitive results. For the methods, the participants, they had a group of 180 students from a college in Germany. They were all psychology students and they were assigned by class selection. They were not randomized. They were put into the classes that the students themselves signed up for. The two experimental groups, one was mindfulness-based stress reduction focused with yoga as one of the specific MBIs, and the second was mindfulness-based stress reduction without yoga. This was done over 7 biweekly sessions that were an hour and a half long. Then they had to complete 20-minute formal exercises at least 5 days a week as their homework. There was also two control groups for this study. One of them was an active control group that focused on, but had that they focused on that had a metacognitive focus. They were not instructed to regulate attention, and they were told to practice awareness as often as possible as their homework. The passive control group attended regular classes at the university with no training or specific instruction. The measure variables for this study was sustained attention, cognitive flexibility, cognitive inhibition, and data-driven information processing. These different variables had different ways of being measured. Sustained attention was measured through a paper pencil test. Cognitive flexibility was measured through a number letter task. Cognitive inhibition was measured by a flanker arrow test. Driven data information processing was measured through a visual search task. Additionally, the three groups that had intervention, including the mindfulness-based stress reduction with yoga and without, as well as the active control group, because they were instructed to practice awareness strategies that were required to complete the diaries, where they documented their daily exercises. Additionally, in this study, a post-test was conducted to account for prior experience with mindfulness techniques as well as prior experience with the authors because they were the ones teaching their course. As for the results of this study, mindfulness was found to have limited effects on attention regulation. Only a slightly significant improvement in cognitive flexibility was found, and even that was not by very significant amount compared to the active and passive control groups. Yoga was not found to have any significant results compared to the group that was not focusing on yoga, and neither the quality nor the quantity of the homework or exercises could predict an improvement in attention regulation. Some of the issues with this study is that participants were not randomly selected. They were chosen by the class that the individual participant chose. Homework results relied on self-reports where there could be a lot of biases or inaccuracies in this. Another issue with this study could be the small number of sessions that were given to the experimental groups. They only met 7 times in a 12-week period, while the control groups met almost double that amount. This is not really enough time for these mindfulness activities to become habits or to really see the long-term effects. There's no guarantee that the results wouldn't be different if they continued the study longer and made these mindfulness activities a part of their life for a more measurable period of time. The generalizability of this study is also kind of an issue area. The study was conducted in one singular university with students of the same major, and the results could have been different in different majors or with students who maybe have more issues with attention control, like students with ADHD or something along those lines, or even students with different cultural backgrounds could also have different experiences with these mindfulness activities, and they could possibly be more beneficial for those types of students. The findings of this study are important because it shows that the way that educators and people who work in universities, according to the study, think about mindfulness techniques and how they benefit students might need to be rethought because the study at hand showed that the current understanding of what mindfulness activities would be beneficial is not accurate, at least not with this small portion of students. Thank you.